Hey, what is up? It is Friday. It is Ask Christian Anarchist. I am the last two words of that phrase you've just heard. So, that being said, welcome aboard. So, to make this simple, because I don't want to keep distractions going for far too long, let me explain how this goes with a nice little graphic that'll help. So there are four ways that you can communicate and ask Christian Anarchist to get your questions out. The kind of questions you ask, well, I do questions involving mostly theology, Bible questions, or sometimes the occasional general personal voice acting kind of questions as well. That being said, if you have a question, feel free to message me on Google Hangouts. I can get you the link. You can come in here, have a one-on-one, be in the actual conversation itself for the Hangout, and therefore you can ask your question there. You do that, though, it's a first come, first serve, so you ask your question within the order of who showed up. Next, you have that live chat. The live chat on the YouTube that you can see. Yeah, that's another way you can ask your question, and we'll see how that turns out. Because apparently we were already getting two people. Stephen Presley, apparently that's one user account. And damn the man. Which, interesting questions they've decided to ask me. All right. Then we have the third. Tweet your question on Twitter with hashtag AskCA. And we can do it that way. And then, of course, ask Christian or ask question on the Discord server. If you haven't been to the Discord server, check it out. It's in the description of this particular video. You can check it out and you can join for future updates, as well as also we'll do our off-air show every time we get done with this. So those are your four ways to ask your questions. I see another person wants to come in, so I'll make sure to send you the link for that. But until then, we're going to get to our first question, which always the people that send on Discord will at least get a guarantee that they come first. That being said, okay, the first question we have, and only question we have right now that is coming from the Discord, is from One Way Apologetics, and that is, quote, since on your view and mine, Genesis 1 is a theological polemic, meaning it's more of a theological attack against other different worldviews, kind of thing, kind of interacting with the surrounding worldviews around. What kind of creation does it convey, if any? Well, one way it would just simply relay that there is a creation that is going on, meaning that simply that things are created by the Creator God, Yahweh. So that is basically the gist of it. Regardless of it being a theological polemic or not, it still bears no real change in the fact that it's still relaying that, hey, there is a creator, and that's, I guess, the main part of the polemic is that the creator is identified as Yahweh, not as Baal or these other different groups that practice whatever kind of gods that they would be worshiping as this creator type of a being. So thank you for your question there, One Way. And we got three guests. We have Spartan, Penn Valentine, and recently joined Scarlett. So thank y'all for joining in. Like I said, we're doing first come, first serve, so we're going within the order. So Spartan, you came in first. So what's up, my home skillet? What's your question?
Yeah, what's going on? Not really a deep question, just you kind of wanted one of your opinions. Who is your favorite biblical scholar, Old Testament or New Testament?
A tough question now that you had to split it, said they can go for Old or in New Testament. If I had to pick a favorite New Testament scholar, at the moment, it would be R.T. France, due to his very big work on the commentary on Matthew that's like almost 1,000 pages long. and is considered a leading scholar on that. And he provides a very good detailed section on that. If I had to choose a Old Testament, I forget what his name was, but he got into some controversy doing the biologos interview thing because he was a Reformed Old Testament uh, scholar, but at the same time he was saying, the idea of like theistic evolution is not a bad idea. It's in fact it can be seen as harmonizing with the biblical narrative as well. So I guess those are like the types of things I'd say is that at the top of my head, really the only one I can think of as name wise is R.T. France.
All right, well, I'll have to look into him. Thanks.
No problemo. And we got Penn, who said he doesn't have a question, but he did say he wanted to comment on something. You there, Penn? Oh. Nope. All right. Then that kick. Okay, we have an in chat, and that's where we're getting the from. So, all right, then I guess we'll just go to uh, Scarlett since she's next. How you doing,
Sorry.
Scarlett?
Sorry, I was giggling.
No, you're good. You're good.
Because I spaced out and I started singing for some damn reason. But I have a question for you.
Okay.
So, this kid at school got me thinking because he started talking about Adam and Eve. I
Okay.
know this is going to sound weird, but with Adam and Eve, is that basically kind of like implying incest because they're brother and sister?
No, because they didn't have really a mommy and daddy that came before them with Adam and Eve. Um, Adam and Eve, how that whole thing worked is that Adam was formed from the dust, and Eve was made from the rib. They weren't made from the production of sexual reproduction or any of that kind of stuff. So they aren't products of incest at all. I don't see how that person could come to that conclusion unless you're referring to the generations that came after Adam and Eve. Or was this person specifically talking just Adam and Eve?
I was really over, like, kind of eavesdropping a little because it was in my 5th class of the day. And we weren't doing anything, so we could get on our phones, and I was just listening into him on the other side of the room. And he was basically being very, very, what's a nice way to put it? Immaturely stupid.
All right.
Like, he was just being very stupid, so it got me thinking about that. But other than that, I'm doing okay, actually. I'm actually really happy right now. But, yeah, so how have you been?
I've been doing pretty good. Been pretty good.
That's good. I've been really tired lately. Really, oh, what was I gonna say? Son of a gun. I like really need to get to sleep. The funny thing is, it's only 8:10 p.m. and it looks like it's freaking midnight outside. It's like so dark.
Well, that's just, I guess, darkness. I guess I don't know.
Me and my friend, the funny thing about us is we can quote Helsing Ultimate Abridged, like back and forth. And it gets me thinking about a lot of the innuendos from there. Like how the Catholics, like, what is it with Catholics? Like, what do they study?
All
Like,
right.
what's their religion?
Okay. Yeah, I'll answer this, and then we got to get to some of the live chat because I see we're really starting to pile up there. So the Catholic religion is basically a perversion of what originally started within the early church period. There's really no good, accurate statement as to at what time they started coming about. Some give or take, probably about the 4th, 5th, or 6th century, as to when they officially started like coming out with the whole as doctrines. But as far as like what they teach and what they believe, ultimately what it boils down to is that they adhere to a sect of what is considered Christianity to the majority of people, but what they believe is that that we are justified, or in other words, declared righteous by God, not just based upon our faith in Christ, but also by our good deeds. That our good deeds mean something in justifying us and declaring us righteous before God. Whereas that contradicts what the Bible states, Old and New Testament. Then you have the fact that they hold to the Pope. That is the one distinct doctrine, is that they believe that the Pope is the um, this authority figure that is supposed to have some kind of binding thing in regards to doctrines and such. So if the Pope makes a declarative, authoritative statement in regards to doctrine and such, this is what is referred to as papal infallibility. And that means that the Pope cannot be wrong when making these sorts of statements on his throne, because he is sitting on the throne and making a statement and declaring what is to be doctrine and such. And they believe like God enters him at that point, or that the Holy Spirit moves in. His words are inspired. His declaration is about as inspired as Scripture, basically.
So basically, when he's sitting on his throne, anything he says, the Catholics that worship him basically believe it. So if it's a lie, they go, "Oh, hey, that's the truth. That ain't a lie." So they can't really accuse him.
Right. It's not just that anything he says on the throne. It's just when because when he sits on the throne, it's mostly when it's a declarative statement involving doctrine. Like if he's sitting on the throne, it's mostly on an occasion where he's reading something and deciding at a meeting of what is going to be the final say-so as what the Catholic Church believes and affirms. So that's their one thing, as well as the order of like priesthoods and all this kind of stuff. Most of what can know about what they believe comes in the Catholic Catechism, which is basically like a list of Q&A questions and answers as to what they believe. So it's pretty much like that frequently asked questions thing you find on some websites these days.
All right, I'll talk to you later, Christian. I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm like half asleep right now. It was nice chatting with you, man.
No problem. Get some good rest.
All right, bye.
Bye. All right, thank you there, Scarlett. And now we're gonna get to you lovely people in the live chat. Also, make sure for some of y'all that have a Twitter, if y'all want to send in your questions on Twitter, feel free to do so. Okay, so the first question comes from Stephen Presley, and he's asking, first view. So, what is your opinion on the Institute in Fallout 4? They may be trying to advance in science, but they are trying to, at the same time, hurt some people to do so. Been a history of science, but it's also pretty freaking crazy. Do not hurt people for the sake of science. That's, I guess, an atheist's term, religion's job. I don't know. Blah, blah, blah. Pancakes. Anyways. Anyways, so yeah. Interesting question. Fallout 4. Okay, Dan the Man. Best hip-hop album? Anything by Shylin is the best hip-hop album. Let's make sure we get that going. Let's see here. Okay, Dan wants in. All right. Yeah, I'll get you the link. Just message me on Hangouts, like I said. Yeah, because I can't. I don't know if you're on there or not. Yeah, I don't got you. So you're gonna have to send me a message on Hangouts, and I'll be able to shoot you a message and get you on here. Dan Areno, blah. Anyways, That being said, okay, well, I think that's, unless there's more questions. Let's see here, adding scriptures, blah, blah, blah. Got a tulip in the live chat saying when the Pope speaks ex cathedra, then he is infallible. Yeah, that's the term I meant to say, ex cathedra. But what do you do when popes contradict each other? It's a good question to ask. Seth Presley also saying, why would they be called Christian if they treat the Pope as a god? Good question. Anyways, what the Abdul? Okay, so Abdul may join us later. Not sure yet. Anyways, all right. So I guess we'll just try to go to see if we can get Spartan. Another question. You there, Spartan? Because I see it said 15 minutes later. 15 minutes, you'd be back. I don't know what time. Okay, no, you're still gone. Great. All right. Pin, you want to comment or say anything at all? Okay, got a now on that one. All right. Hopefully, what the? Okay, we got a. Hang on a sec, gotta make sure. All right, so we got a question from a girl named Spice asking, can you say your thoughts on how to handle voice acting while staying true to your faith if you haven't done so previously on your channel? I know we've talked about this a bit before, but as a fellow Christian and a fellow voice actor, I would appreciate the advice. It is certainly a task, I'll say that much, because the one problem that you have is that with being a voice actor, you're going to obviously have some roles that are going to, you apply out for, you get asked to try out, and you get some roles that when you read the script, don't really portray your own kind of values and such. And to me, I think we can sometimes miss the point when we do that. And the thing is that you're an actor, and when you are an actor, you're basically, pretending and portraying this character that needs life coming through them. And so as a result, when you're trying to display this character and not such, you're doing it to character is like. So for example, in the Dragon Ball Super Abridged thing, if I'm doing the voice of Vegeta, I'm not trying to, because I do get a little uncomfortable doing those particular lines, but at the end of the day, I realized that the reason why I'm uncomfortable is that it's showing a character that's definitely have a depraved part, but at times, maybe he starts learning and growing. So that's one thing I can tolerate and still be in that role, because Vegeta's a character that still grows and learns, even though, comedy effect, he's still going to be a bit of a arrogant, prideful kind of guy. But that being said, okay, lost my train of thought there for a second. But when you're in the voice acting world, don't let what goes on in the voice acting industry, or even in whether it's you're famous or you're still the small time gig kind of person. If a gig turns out and you really feel uncomfortable doing it, don't do it. There was a time that I was offered, me and Brianna from Dragon Ball Super Bridge, and also she does the voice of Cookie on some of my videos. We were offered a One Piece abridged thing, we found out that for one, our director was like a 12-year-old. Secondly, we found out that that the jokes were mostly a bunch of bizarre, uh, crazy sex and poop jokes that would make even Mozart cringe. Um, and it was just way too weird. Obviously, a lot of language. Obviously, a lot of sex jokes. Obviously, a lot of crude type of humor, and we were uncomfortable being in it. So we said no. We're not going to do this. Um, Thank you for asking, though. But you can ask someone else to try to do the line. But I keep getting asked to do other kinds of things, like along with Dragon Ball Super. I'm going to be in a Ruby fan dub. Then I'm going to, I don't even know if it's going to happen yet, a Boku no Hero abridged. I've tried out for some auditions on that. Some people have liked the takes, but obviously there's a lot of people on that project that could probably do better than me, because there's like at least some people have tried sending 200 different auditions. So I highly doubt I'm going to be able to do that project, because there's a lot of people that are after that spot. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it would just kind of be like, think of it like you're an actor. Who you play as is not betraying you, but how you would understand this character to be in a story. And ultimately, you're just bringing out that character so that you can then allow the story to progress. I mean, think of it this way. I don't know if you're still watching Spice, but imagine you go to a church. They're putting on a passion play. Now, obviously, when you do a play about the crucifixion of Jesus and the sacrifice he made, somebody in the church has to play Judas. Somebody has got to be him. Because how else are you going to depict that moment when Jesus is being betrayed? Those are some very biblically sound moments, and somebody's got to be talked to when Jesus is saying the words of whoever betrays me and such. He has to be addressing somebody. And if the pastor plays Judas, or if the pianist in the congregation plays Judas, or if the one of the deacons one of the deacons plays Judas, does that mean, oh, well, we have to beware of this person because he played Judas in a play about the Passion of Christ? That's not how you do things. And I wish people would realize that. So, my laptop's not charging, so if I don't, so if my computer breaks down at some point, fellas, just know that that's probably the reason. Anyways, that being said, all right, so okay, Spice apparently is now undercover in this as the miraculous ladybug. I love it. All right. Yeah, anyways. All right, so hopefully that was able to help you. That it's not about the character you play. It's about, let's say this: you're an actor, you bring the character out. What you as an actor do is definitely important, and that's mostly who most of the fans are going to fall for, not just specifically the character you do, but also who you are as a person. Like in the voice acting industry, people don't just love Todd Haberkorn because he's Natsu from Fairy Tail, or Vic Mignogna because he's Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist. They love them because they're them. Todd Haberkorn's a cool guy, very interesting, very awesome kind of guy who's very cool to interact with. And when you go to the panels, magic happens right there when you're able to interact and see the actual them compared to the what you hear in the voice work. So that's how I would say it, is to ultimately let your real self be known, because at the end of the day, that's what people, including the people you work with, are going to care about. Let your actual self be a shined reflection upon your work. So anyways, thank you for your question, Spice. And if you have another one, feel free to send it up whenever you get a chance. All right, so let me see who else, because we got some other questions. All right, here. Seth Presley, the Spanish Inquisition, really, that Christian, are just a bad idea. Spanish Inquisition was a bad idea. The Catholic Church drank way too much. That's how you got it. Anyways, oh, there's a Remy. I'm gonna get him the link, because I know a couple of people I wanted to get in here. You gotta ask me for the link on Hangouts, and sometimes I can't see because I'm trying to jumble between all kinds of things. If you've got Twitter, I can also get you the link on Twitter. All right. So Dan, if you're still watching and you want to get in, just message me on Google Hangouts. Matter of fact, I'll send the link in the live chat right now. All right. Okay. Are there female angels in the book of Zechariah, or any book, or any book of the Bible? I don't think there's really a gender for the angels, at least that I've heard of, or that they make distinct. I'll have to look back into that and see what they say. And I just got a message from Metal Minister. Yeah, Spanish Inquisition's basically the moment of saying, "Go home, Rome. You're drunk. Go home, Rome." Anyways, that being said, where in the world? You know what? Why not? I'm gonna get a metal in here. And there is my boy Remy of the Christian Green Lantern Corps.
Most people can't see that. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, mate. Ah, great. Hold on a second. Stupid phone. Alarm from epilepsy medication. So, excuse me as I get a little drink of water. Anyways, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good overall, actually. I just went to see my specialist last week for cardiology, and I'm actually improving.
Oh. Improving, huh?
Yep.
That's always good, man. What's you improving from?
Well, he was the general cardiologist, but they're seeing an improvement in my overall heart with the echocardiogram. That's echocardiogram is something like an ultrasound, but it's specified for the abdomen and in chest area for arteries and veins. So, yeah, they're saying that I've improved by 10%. So
nice. Good to hear you're doing pretty well, man. Also, good to have you back on here. It's been quite a while with you actually in this particular hangout.
I haven't had any questions.
But you've been a good moderator for the outside chat, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, I prefer to answer questions myself. So,
there you go. You're like if I can't see some of the questions, you managed to do your best also provide in for the live chat questions as well. So you're like the assistant asker or answerer guy on the show. So good job, man. All right. So
we have metal minister with us.
Yeah, but the question is he able to actually speak? or is he at work? That's the question. And I'm assuming with that long silence, that probably means he's at work. Oh yeah, he said, yeah, he is at work. So I can't talk. Also said Remy, Green Lantern is gay. Just kidding, he says.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Green Lantern, so.
So there you go. All right.
Well, here's a question for you. Maybe you've already answered it because I haven't really been paying attention. Have you talked about whether or not Christians are allowed or permitted, or whether it's taboo and absolutely sinful to celebrate, to partake and participate in Halloween? I'm sure you hand out the tracts. I'm sure you hand out the tracts if you ever did. But
I am glad.
But I used to encounter back from 2007 till 2009. I used to encounter people saying that you shouldn't even open your door. It's like, wow, and it's blasphemy if you do. It's like, okay.
Yes, I'm glad you actually brought this up, because I was going to do a video sometime this week about this topic, because I've talked to people who are part of this anti-Halloween crowd, and this needs to stop, needs to be refuted. And when I engage in them with this, they never provide biblical examples or reasons. They just simply appeal to emotion. And it even goes to the point that, and Metal knows what I'm talking about, that look what Anton LaVey, world's famous Satanist, says. I'm so glad that parents get to dress up, the Christian parents get to dress up their kids to celebrate the devil once a year. As if that's supposed to be an authority or mean something to a Christian.
Yeah,
that's like saying let's accept the textual critic advice of Bart Ehrman. Why not accept the wise Christian advice of what Christianity means and what Jesus is from Dan Barker? Let's do that if you're just going to go ahead and heed to the advice and knowledge of Anton LaVey for determining the fate of a day.
I would say that out of 100 kids that come to the doors over here, maybe 1 in 20 might have some sort of horrific related costume on, like a demon with horns and something, a parent,
and that's what
magic marker to their chin, and
and that's what I would always say, is that those costumes I would certainly not condone.
No, of course not. But the rest are like fairies.
What? So here's the problem: is what they say. Just they condemn it as a whole. Like, what's so wrong with dressing up as Batman? I mean, is there really any evil in that?
Yeah, like my mom has been doing the because I moved back in with my mom because times are tough up in Europe, and she does the handing out. But she used to announce, "Oh, Batman!" I'm like, "What?" I come running to the because that's one I gotta see.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I mean, like, I can understand like Christians not liking kids dressing up as ghosts, witches, and demons and all that kind of stuff. I understand that, and I'm, if you're a Christian, I don't think that you should be dressing up in that way. But if you're a Christian, there's nothing wrong dressing up as Batman or Supergirl or whatever character. If you even want to just be absolutely nerdy, just go around dressed up as Martin Luther from the Protestant Reformation, and when you knock on the neighbor's doors, knock on it with a hammer like he was nailing the 95 Thesis to the Catholic Church. I mean, why not? Just go have, it's about, you're out there having candy, getting candy, and you're dressing up as your favorite costume character. There's no pagan concept in that. There was no paganism. It was mostly just a cultic going off and trying to scare people with these demonic things and also do like these sacrifices and rituals. Don't see that these days on the mainstream of the American Halloween thing. Maybe you'll have some people that as soon as they get done trick-or-treating, then they go and do their own thing. And those are people who actually need help with the issue. That's the people who need the gospel message. And that's ultimately what can be a good thing, is if you're out, maybe you can participate and talk with some of those people if you're out being a trick-or-treater. Or if you are at the door, do it like, Sean does, and he like makes Ziploc bags, 5 pieces of candy and a gospel tract. Just hands them in. Or heck, that's the thing. You get some people who are allergic to food, certain candies and such, and that's where certain places has a thing where you can paint the pumpkin is painted a different color, and that's like saying, hey, we are a house that will have food that your kid that may be allergic or have some condition over, he can eat this stuff, and he won't have any reaction to. So that's a sign for them to go safely to that house. And hey, look, good place to also hand out some gospel tracts right there. Get some literature there, because that's what some places do, as well as also provide like the little game things. Because I remember those were popular when I was trick or treating. Like you had little bathroom type of game things that you were able to get and during trick or treat. So, yeah, I mean, that's a good time to celebrate the gospel. And that's actually the other thing. While it did have its origins in paganism, Halloween was also a time, or at least on that day, that Christians made their own kind of holiday to combat the paganism and to evangelize and witness to people. From what Metalhead messaged me, what I tried looking up later from people like Hank Hanegraaff and the 1 Minute Apologist, people would like dress up in costumes to mock and poke at the pagan practices of what these people were doing, and then ultimately also to go out and witness to the gospel to these people. In fact, we get the word Halloween from the Christian side of the perspective, not the Samhain practice. So Halloween comes from the side that is Christian, that in regards to where the name comes from.
Yeah, I've got a few responses as well. Nothing against what you said, but to add. But I'll read Metal Minister's off chat comment. He says that if his son dresses up as a what was it, a penguin?
A penguin.
Then apparently, does this mean that he's worshiping Satan? Really? Okay, so for several things. First thing that came to mind was that it still happens, and it's even featured in the first 15 minutes of Skyfall, I think it is, James Bond. The Day of the Dead in Mexico and other Central American.
Yeah, you continue. I'm going to be right back. Something just happened.
And so apparently they still do believe that the dead allow them to talk to them beyond the grave, or even their spirits raise out of the grave and come to their doors and spend the night with them. So I seriously doubt that the majority of the Western world, that includes even the Western European countries, actually think that they're allowing the spirits of the dead to come to their house and have a worship of what deity, whatever, that is allowing them to come out of the grave. I seriously doubt it. But if that's the way people want to be, then that's the way people are going to be. But my usual argument against people who say, well, it's a pagan holiday and it's blasphemy and it's, is that, well, then, okay, then you can't celebrate Christmas. Because what Christmas is that originally Christmas was the, I can't remember what deity that they used to worship, but they would burn a tree or a log in their backyard back 100 or so years ago to worship a demonic god that apparently would I can't remember. Something. I'm pretty sure the demon would give them a blessing or protection, or leave them alone for another year if they burnt an effigy. And some countries still do burn effigies. There's one in Europe that actually burns was it a horse or something in the center of their town. And so, but this is where Christmas, one of the roots of Christmas, because there's actually a few of them, and that's where apparently the burning of the log or tree or shrub in the backyard became the tradition of not burning a tree, but actually instead erecting it in your backyard without burning it, as if it's to stand in for the sacrifice to this deity. And eventually a woman in America, I think it was, or maybe it was in Britain, she brought the tree in, and that became a thing. And now we celebrate Christmas. But Christians actually learned that during the burning of the log or burning of the tree, some very, very seldomly, but some at that time, a few hundred years ago, would actually sacrifice people who had been sinning against their demonic or pagan god. So, yeah. So if you wanna go full blown, don't participate in Halloween, then don't bother with Christmas. Don't bother with Thanksgiving either, because if you're in America, then people are going to say, well, no, you're not giving thanks to God. You're giving you're just reenacting the feast that was actually a massacre days later by the pilgrims. So if you really want to go that far, you can't really celebrate Thanksgiving either. Although in Canada, where I am, it's still, you give thanks to the Lord for the harvest. As far as I know, it never had anything to do with pilgrims. So, and the last piece I'll say, completely new sidebar, is that these people who are stuck in the pagan or anti-pagan mind, is that they can't grasp the idea that maybe we've made our own traditions. Maybe it's become something different by now. And I'm done.
All right. Well, thank you for that, mate. And thank you for your question on Halloween and your thoughts on it. There, Remy. Metal, if you have a question, you can feel free to ask it in the on the Google Hangouts thing. So since I know that would help you out there. Let's see what we got. We don't have Discord questions coming in. Let's see if any tweets have been submitted. No, we have none at the moment. Well, isn't that interesting? Anyways, that being said, let's see what we got in the live chat. Any question? Code Cat, I showed up late. What's happening? What's happening is this is Ask Christian Anarchist. What should be happening? You sending me in some wonderful questions, my dear friend. Also, you're a cat. Can I pet you? That is what's happening. End of story. Anyways, so let's see here. Okay, nothing else. All right, send in your questions, and we'll be sure to get you in with the whole dealios. And some reason someone's sending me what the? Apparently something where Justin Wilson added me to a hangout. I don't know why. Those who don't know, Justin Wilson's the Adventist, Seventh-day Adventist guy. Very interesting brand too. Think even the other Adventists in that church would condemn him as a heretic if they heard or learned of what he believed. Anyways, so All right, let's see if our good boy Spartan is back. Spartan, you there? 'Cause I'm pretty sure it's been past 15 minutes. And fiddlesticks. All right, but we have Dan the Man in here. Dan, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. That took so much time. I mean, I rarely get on Google Hangouts. In fact, not at all. So that took way longer than I expected.
Yeah, it was definitely not an interesting thing when I first started out with this.
Oh yeah, I was like on all platforms. Give me the link, CA.
Yeah. So, welcome aboard. Do you have a question you'd like to ask, Mr. Dan?
Oh no, I thought I'd come in and hang out. Actually, I just wanted to know because I saw I think it might have been Remy was talking about theistic evolution, and I thought you were a theistic evolutionist. Is that right?
I don't prefer the term theistic evolutionist. If anything, I prefer to call myself an evolutionary creationist.
Well, that's very good. I like that.
Yeah, because
and what
the
keep going. It's okay.
No, I was just saying that simply. I call myself that just because I affirm it's still creation. I believe that God is still the creator, and using so, I don't believe in the means of like that. He uses it and just as if it's something that's can operate on its own. I think it's something that God uses because He is the creator of evolution and is able to use it because it's His creative method and such. But I also think that Adam and Eve are distinct from it, and they're separate from the evolution process.
Okay, cool. And what kind of convinced you to take that position?
Well, the Bible is the first. That would be the science that I had seen since my senior year of high school. And then I guess the third has just been studying the issue from both sides of the perspectives that I started to be more convinced of my evolutionary creationist perspective on the Bible. So looking into the Bible, studying the commentaries, studying the Hebrew and the Koine Greek helped me out with that, as well as even looking at some of the arguments from the science from both the evolutionist perspective as well as say things like intelligent design and other creation theories out there.
Okay, cool. And that's really cool. I didn't know like the Koine or Hebrew kind of supports that. I'd have to look into that. That's really interesting.
Oh yeah, look at the Hebrew for yom, which is what's translated as day. There's like 10 or 8 definitions for that one word that can have a variety of different things, and the commentaries and scholars have pointed out that like days and such can be long periods of time depending on the context that even Genesis can seem to fit. And that's why there's so much things that I personally just am convinced of the long day period view of these creation days in Yom of Genesis 1.
Oh yeah, I know IP did a video about it, and he basically compared Hebrew poetry to the opening to Genesis 1 and how it kind of links together like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Was that your question, man?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Just kind of want to come in and hang out. I watched some of your live streams, so I'm like, well, it'd be cool to get in there, just kind of talk to him. So.
Well, now you know how to reach me if you ever want to come in.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Hey, what's up, Scarlett?
I'm really scared.
Well, what's going on?
My fucking next door neighbors are fighting, and we live in a freaking like duplex, and the room they're fighting in is basically right on the other side of my bedroom wall.
Well, how does the fighting seem? Is it sounding like it's gone more than just arguments?
Yes, like there's a bunch of banging and shit, and I'm so scared.
Have you called the police yet?
I don't want to do that because basically I know who started it. It's my next door neighbor's daughter. Because my next door neighbor, she has Parkinson's disease, so of course she wouldn't start it.
Mm.
So right now, I'm just
Well-
really scared.
Well,
if
if it's getting into a point of fist fighting and all that stuff, the cops
I
have to be
can't-
informed of that.
I can't tell if it's getting to fist fighting. I can't see through a wall.
Well, you said there was banging, so obviously something is starting to get a little physical.
Made me think of a song, but I'm just really scared. Do you mind if I hang out in here for a little?
Yeah. Just relax here if you need to.
Thank you. I'm just really spooked right now.
Just calm down. You'll be fine. Just make sure the doors are locked and that if anything, if it sounds like it's getting way too serious, hide somewhere, get a phone, and call the authorities.
All right, thank you.
No problem. No problem. All right. That being said, so we're gonna have Scarlett here for a bit, and y'all didn't have a problem with her before. She's a very nice lady, so make sure to treat her with some respect. That being said, let's try to check in with Spartan again, because that was our second time trying to talk to him earlier. Spartan, you there? About 8:13. You told us you'd be back in 15 minutes. It's way past it, muchacho. He may have fallen asleep. Who knows? Anyways, we're almost about an hour left before we stop the Q&A. So if y'all have some questions, feel free to send them in.
With what you just said about Spartan being gone for like 13 minutes and stuff, it reminded me of one part of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, the movie, right at the end when Tom is supposed to get on the steamboat, well, the riverboat with his aunt, and she goes, Tom Sawyer, come on. He's like, hold on a minute. And it's been a minute, right? And he's still talking to Hucky. And she goes, Tom Sawyer. He's like, give me a second, Aunt Polly. It's like, Tom, you said that a minute ago. Like, he just keeps saying, hold on, hold on, hold on. It's like, really? It's kind of funny because that's how normal teens are. Like, we'll tell our parents, hold on a minute, and it's like 5 minutes later. But yeah, thanks again, Chris, for letting me hang out here and stuff. I'm just really freaking spooked right now. Like, I'm freaking shaking. I don't know what to do.
Oh, we have apparently Code Cat in the chat saying to call the cops if you think it could be bad. The cops won't be mad at you, and you could be helping keeping people safe. So that I just thought I'd bring that up.
I'll go ask my mom what she wants me to do.
All right. So let me see if I can get Skype pulled up because I noticed Veckel said something about the link doesn't work. I'll see what I can get going. I don't know what link you're referring to, because if it's the Hangouts, that was just to the actual thing itself, but I haven't sent like a join link for this particular Hangout. I see you have tried asking on Skype. Let me get the link there, and skadoosh. Join. That being said, I like saying that being said quite often, don't I? Anyways.
Would you like to talk about the topic that was briefly in the chat about yoga? Because they were thinking along the same lines of,
what the heck is up with yoga? Yeah. No, seriously, why is that the discussion?
Oh, because they were going even further on the topic of don't celebrate Halloween. So,
so
the same mindset. Well, then should Christians do yoga? So, Tulip, I think, was the first one to bring it up. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyways,
yeah.
But I've heard Christians say you shouldn't even attempt it, shouldn't even get involved, you shouldn't even read about it, nothing. And then I've heard Christians say that if you don't have the music and you don't do the ohms and all that, a chants, sorry, and you don't do anything with candles but if you just do it for the aerobics, the fitness, then it's possibly okay, but I can't endorse it myself. But for what I heard about on the radio, I believe it was about 12 or so years ago, that a woman actually called in and told her story how her sister was deep into yoga and she wasn't. And so she says, I don't want to, but eventually she caved because it's for her sister. She loves her. And so she came over to her sister's house one day and they pulled out, her sister pulled out two mats for her in the room where she does it. And there's a bench on against the wall. And so she goes into the first pose. Yeah, was it pose? And her sister was already in a trance within a minute or two. And so this woman who called in said that when it happened, she had her eyes closed, but only for a minute. She says that she opened her eyes briefly and there was a shadowy figure that was distinct, that nobody else was in the house, staring at her, and she had an overwhelming feeling of fear and dread, and she would never go back to that room. She would not have anything to do with yoga. So take from that whatever you will, because some people are going to say, well, that never happens.
Oh, fuck.
Same thing with a Ouija board. It never happens. But what about for the 1 in 1,000 people that crap does happen?
It doesn't.
Yeah, see? Because you weren't there, it didn't happen.
Allegory is not evidence of anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that got pinned to speak up on that one. And I remember there was a time he mentioned one of his first videos I've seen, he tackled some Ouija board thing in the video. But yeah, but as far as my opinion goes on yoga, I mean, I don't think a Christian should participate in it because of not just simply the Hinduistic background to it, but also like the ways in which it's trying to achieve like this sort of like connection and communication. If the people are just in it for like the stretching and the calming down, however, for that you can just do like Pilates or Zumba or those other kinds of classes that are just simply like workout or relaxation types of exercises.
Yeah, there's a point in yoga though that they do. I don't know at what point, but at some stage they do tell you to breathe in, and you're not only breathing, but they actually say that you have a light inside your lungs that will fill your entire body every time you take a breath, and that light is you, and that light is a part of your connection to everything around you, nature and spirituality, all in the same time. And that is actually a real connection to the demonic realm. So there is a point where it's possible, even without the candles, even without the mantras, even without the tranquility ambience in the background, whatever, that it could still, because of the poses, you are you are possibly even not, even if there's no demonic involvement, God would probably frown on it, and because you are actually looking toward other mysticisms.
You can't just call something demonic just because you disagree with it. How does anything you just
I'm not calling it demonic because I don't agree
how
with
does
it.
anything that you just described differentiate from the idea of the Spirit of God in any way?
Because of the story I mentioned earlier.
Okay, but allegory is not evidence of anything, so you have to immediately dismiss it.
Then I can't relate to anything you ever said because I'm not there to see whatever it is you believe in.
Okay, but
it doesn't matter if it's allegory or not. If it's something that is completely contrary to what God prescribes his people, then it should be avoided either way. So it doesn't matter if it's allegorical or not.
If it's allegorical, you can't take it seriously.
Well, exactly. That's why Christians, that all the more reason why Christians shouldn't even adhere to something like that. If there's no real,
you can't believe it, is what I'm saying.
But
that's fine. But I mean, there's no problem with rejecting it because God said not to go that route either.
Like, I've never met you before, I don't think, but I don't know where you stand on spirituality. Maybe you're an atheist. I don't know. But if you do acknowledge that there could be a spiritual realm, then it's pretty hanky or suspicious when yoga tells you that you have a light inside you, and when you breathe in, you are breathing in light, and it will spread through your body, and that light is will eventually, if not immediately, connect you to a higher spiritual realm.
That sounds very much like the idea of the Spirit of God. Does it not?
No.
Because God never told
How does that not?
God never told anybody, at least
So nobody says anything about the idea of the Spirit of God filling you and you'll be connected with God through his Spirit being inside you and stuff like that?
Yeah, but there is no description of any practice in Judaism or Christianity that even remotely tells you to take any physical form with your body. There's nothing in, well, I think maybe hands clasped might be one. But other than that, there's bowing, and that's not prayer. Bowing is not prayer.
Yeah, the closest you're going to get to that is what's mentioned in John 22, but that's not even a prescription. It's just
getting on your face. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, when Jesus breathed the Holy Spirit unto the disciples, I mean, that's not even something that's prescriptive. I mean, that's just.
Are you sure about John 22? Because I think
I'm
21
going
is
to
the
say
last.
John 20, verse 22, I think it is.
But even so, that's a one-time deal.
Yeah, it's a one-time thing. That's not a prescriptive text. But
So,
yeah, I mean,
you got these people who do it once a week, or even if they have the opportunity, they'll do it every day during work. It's like it's.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys take this position or not. The Christians speaking. I think doing the positions by themselves, like for body exercise, I guess is fine. But yeah, I guess I would take it. I don't know. I guess it's by your own personal conviction. If you feel that you shouldn't do it at all, I mean, the breathing thing. Yeah, I don't know. I might personally be convicted to not participate in that aspect of yoga, I guess. But I don't know.
Like, one could say that, even in pop culture, something happened, because if you watch the early career of the Beatles, before they went to meet a yogi in India or Pakistan, or I don't remember what country they went to, before that, they were happy-go-lucky. They loved everything. They were the life of everybody's party. They were all happy with each other. Well, maybe John and Paul were always arguing, but beforehand. But if you watch enough documentaries on chronological times with the Beatles, you see that when around the time that John went with the band to go and connect or whatever and try and be experienced and all this, whatever. The rest of the band, Paul, Ringo, and George, and whoever else went, when they came back, they were still relatively normal. They were still relatively easygoing. But John came back and he had a major chip on his shoulder, like, why did you rip me apart from that?
You don't know jack shit about the Beatles, dude.
John stayed longer, actually.
You don't know jack shit about the Beatles because George converted to Hinduism and was a Hindu until he died.
Yeah.
And
but there's something to do with their mysticism.
God embraced it.
Yeah, there's something to do with their There's something to do with their mysticism. Is what I'm pointing at.
And John embraced it and made music about it. So you're being either intentionally dishonest or you are vastly misinterpreting the source material.
Being dishonest is actually to make a claim. I'm not making a claim. I said there's something to it. I never made a claim
about the Beatles and how they were affected.
Honest about what I say.
You were making a claim based on the Beatles.
I never made a claim. I never actually said something actually happened. I said.
But when you said John came back and had a chip on his shoulder as a result of it, that's not a claim.
No, it's not.
How is that not a claim?
It's not.
Well,
Yeah,
explain to me how it's not a claim.
Please don't argue.
okay.
Well, that's what's gonna happen sometimes
No,
in these things.
still a little spooked right now, so yeah. Oh, MX, I think your profile picture is really adorable.
Thank you.
I like how it's one big fox and then a tiny little kitty cat. It makes me happy looking at it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so
Another
try to
voice.
get things on the path. We got about an hour before we got to end the show. So if y'all got y'all's questions, be sure to submit them in before we have to tune in or shut down for the after hour on Discord, which is where we will go to. Would you sneeze? Bless you.
Oh, another one.
Well, I guess it's that thing. If someone just talks about you or even just addresses to you, that they have the sneeze going.
I'm gonna have to start documenting the different type of sneezes I hear from women.
No.
Well, then your wife's gonna really think you're crazy.
Yeah, I love my wife to death, but I hate her sneeze. My gosh, it's so violent.
Is she in the room right now?
Oh no, of course I wouldn't be saying it right now if she was.
I have good news and I have bad news.
Bad news first.
It's way too quiet. Like everything next door went silent.
How is that bad news?
Yeah, I think that was
Because there was an argument in there, like physically,
Mm.
and it's dead silent.
Maybe they
So
weren't.
I don't know if it stopped or if somebody got knocked unconscious. I don't know.
Where you heard a lot of rumbling before?
No.
Just a lot of yelling?
Yeah, and a few like clatters, but probably just like hitting a wall or something. Like
Was it between two guys, two girls, a guy and a girl?
I think it was fucking two girls actually.
Well,
You must have had the political discussion. Anyway, go ahead.
that's what you're thinking.
Political.
Damn. I felt that one.
Look. Oh, we have a sneezing machine gun.
Nah, why do you think on one Discord server I'm called Laser Sneezer?
Huh.
Scarlett, have you done anime?
Sorry, mommy.
Okay, never mind. We'll talk about that. I'm trying to conjure up a question for you, CA. So bear with me.
All right.
Yeah, guess what?
What?
I want to be a voice actor when I grow up.
Oh, that's good.
Mhm.
Yeah. Huh? What you want, Veckel?
I want to grow up.
You want to grow up? How old are you?
I'm an old man.
I'm an old fart.
Yeah, that exactly describes
I
that.
need my king.
Yep, absolutely. I forget what the website was, but every time I go to a panel,
Just as I have a question, my wife calls. All right, I gotta mute my mic. Be right back.
yeah, take care of that first, man. I know. Here's the one thing I would recommend if you're wanting to be a voice actor or a voice actress. Every time I've been to a panel or seen a voice actor say something about this, especially if they're in the anime voice acting industry, they always recommend you to go to this site, www.iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. All of them seem to go to this, as in
I haven't been on there in forever.
yeah, it's basically like it tells you like how to get like an agent that'll help you out, how to go to auditions, where to go, making a demo reel, what's the key, what kind of voice acting lessons.
Practice.
Yeah, like it tells you really how to focus on them techniques.
Audition, how to create character. Oh, it's such a good website.
Oh yeah, so if you definitely want to really consider giving it a shot.
I think they even added a new feature where I don't know if how new, but I think they have a new feature where you can upload examples of some of your voices and like get some like coaching on it or something. I don't know.
Bless you.
Thank you. But like a bunch of people have told me I should be a voice actor because I can like literally do so many different voices.
Yeah, definitely would consider giving it a shot. Just make one thing I would ask: have you ever had any theater practice before?
It helps.
Let's see. One year I was in oh shoot, hold on, let me think. I did a play one year. So
Well, whatever you've learned from that will help you out with that.
It'd be good to get more experience.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you
So
can.
if you ever do plan on going to an anime convention and they happen to have a panel where they're doing voice acting tryouts or voice acting workshops, definitely go to those because they help out, especially if the guy leading it or the girl leading it is an actual voice actor or voice actress from a project. I managed to get some help in like death scene from David Vincent, the guy who voiced Grimjow from Bleach. So I was able to show off my material, but at the same time, he also managed to help me improve of where it needed improvement.
the one voice actor I want to meet is Vic Mignogna.
Well, that's the one thing that is going to be hard to. And if I find that he's going to be near my area, I'm going over there, and I'm going to find the Mignogna. I'm going to find the Vic, and I'm going to say, "Hey,
Find the,
I'm going to what?
said you're gonna find the manana.
Yeah, I'm going to find the Mignogna."
Christian, wasn't it you that helped me get the screenshot of the text between me and Vic?
Yep. Between the conversation between you and Vic.
Yep, because one day I was in a server with Christian, but it was Vic Mignogna's. And I had actually texted Vic because that day it was his birthday, but also he was getting ready to go to a con. So I was like, oh my gosh, I want to show my friends this because this is the best way to end a summer. So I said I had him and my other friend help me get a screenshot. So I had two of them.
Well, CA, I do have a question for you. I asked you this already. I don't know if since then you looked more into it, but I'll just kind of premise it with this. Talking to a couple of the Black nationalists, if you will, and if you've encountered these individuals, they often try to put Christians on the hot seat by talking about Christianity was created by the white man, and it was always at Council of Nicaea 325 AD, all this other stuff. And one thing led to another. After I debunked that argument there, they mentioned something about other councils prior to the Council of Nicaea. So now I got two questions for you.
Okay.
Number one, do you know of any councils before the Council of Nicaea that were like the other councils afterwards? And number two, more specifically, have you ever heard of a council called, and I asked you this before, the Council of Arles, I think, which took place in 314.
Took place in what year?
314 AD.
Night, Christian. I think I'm calm enough to go to bed now.
All right. Make sure you get some rest and take it easy, all right?
All right, bye. And hey, MX, I want you to do me a favor.
What's that?
Uh-oh.
Friend me on Hangouts and send me your profile picture. It's so adorable. I want to keep it.
I can do that.
Yay, it's so cute. And actually, me staring at it makes me so happy because it's so cute. Like the little kittens just smiling, like, yay.
Yeah, you got it. No problem.
Bye.
It's good stuff.
All right. Good stuff. All right. So while Pin keeps being adorable, we're gonna go with that question. And before I continue, two things. One, I assume you're talking about like the Kemetic group, right?
Well, they're a mixture of different mindsets, I guess. So, but
Okay.
the common denominator is, pro-black. So that.
Yeah, I understand. So, and the second thing being, by the way, just want to let you know, if you haven't seen it, check out the recent theological discussion episode. I actually got to talk to one of the members of Torah Night.
Oh yeah, I saw that on it as thumbnail, but I didn't click on it yet. So yeah.
Yeah. If you get a chance, man, check it out. But as far as like, because I'm gonna try, and I might have to ask if clarify what you said earlier, but like concerning like the Council of Arles, yes, it's basically is it from what I'm looking at right now? Because I remember it briefly when it was mentioned, because that's always the one that I keep hearing about, is specifically the one in 314, and it was actually the first council that took place of Arles that took place a year after the Edict of Milan. So that's basically the first ever council of Arles that ever happened in there, and it was called by Constantine. And it's the forerunner of the first council that took place in Nicaea.
So I'm curious. Go ahead.
So I don't exactly know what all happened in there, but from what I'm looking at, it says Easter should be held on the same day throughout the world. So these are some of the edicts that were depicted. Like Donatism was condemned as a heresy at this, as well as the guy who made it, Donatus, was excommunicated from the church. This had begun as an appeal by the Donatists to Constantine against the decision of Rome in 313. Canon against the non-residence of clergy, canon against participation in races and gladiatorial fights to be punished by excommunication, canon against the rebaptism of heretics, ordination required the assistance of at least 3 bishops, canons on other matters of discipline. These were basically the main things that was discussed there. But you can always, like, if you just type in something like the Canon of Arles or something like that, if you could just find, or any church history book that might cover it, you'll be able to find a good bit of stuff on it. But going to your other question, like what about Nicaea did they bring up?
I was wondering if there were any other councils besides the Council of Arles that occurred prior to the Council of Nicaea. And here's the reason why. The other reason why I asked this question is because when I didn't do any thorough research on Arles, the Council of Arles, but it seemed to me that every time we look under early church history, we hear about the Council of Nicaea, Council of Trent, and all those other councils that followed after. But hardly any of these Christian sources mention anything about the Council of Arles. It's like they don't even recognize it. Mm-hmm. So I'm just wondering why that is. I mean, is it because they don't consider it a part of Christianity, or touching on anything regarding the Christian tenets? Or I'm just curious.
Well, as far as what I could probably get, it's probably not a much important thing, though it may have like brief mentions in church history at some points. So, because I've tried looking at on some things, I can't even find maybe sometimes in like on New Advent, the Catholic Encyclopedia, even its list on that is not really too long. It said, in fact, all it says is, quote, the first Council of Arles held in 314 for the purpose of putting an end to the Donatist controversy. It confirmed the findings of the Council of Rome, which was in 313. It recognized the validity of the election of Caecilian of Carthage and confirmed the excommunication of Donatists of Cassae Negri. The 22 canons dealing with various abuses that had crept into ecclesiastical life since the persecution of this particular individual are among the most important documents of early ecclesiastical legislation. So
it sounds to me like the only difference between that and the Council of Nicaea, for example, is that they didn't really cover any of the they didn't cover in a major way any of the tenets of Christianity. It seemed like it was more of a discussion on one certain individual. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, for example, the Council of Nicaea, I guess one of the things they discussed, what primarily was the deity of Christ and stuff like that, right? I mean, mm-hmm. Were there other things discussed at the Council of Nicaea too that I'm not aware of?
Well, Nicaea, as far as I know, they discussed trying to settle the issue about the Trinity,
right?
And then maybe since what they do is the other councils is then like get to slight things like, you know, you have an election going on in your town, like say getting a new judge or a new governor or mayor in office. Yeah, you have that election going on, but you also have elections for like certain like policies or things that really don't get much attention or sponsorship or advertisement or importance as some of these other decisions that are going on. And so the Council of Nicaea would basically have a moment to gather the people and then discuss these certain things going on. But their main focus is over the big issue, and that was, how then do we understand about who Jesus was?
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I'm just curious. I mean,
Yeah, actually,
I'm not even sure why they brought that up. Really, I mean, I think their argument was it's really foolish. But they were trying to say, first of all, they were trying to say Christianity was created in 325 A.D. And then when we debunked that, they started talking about, well, what about all the other councils? I mean, y'all been changing stuff with every council and stuff, and it was, that's when it was first brought to my attention about this Council of Arles I never heard of before until they brought it up. But even
they don't even know how councils work if that's what they're going to go to.
Say it again.
They don't even know how to work with councils then if that's what they're going to go to.
Well, that's exactly it. CA. I even asked this one individual that brought it up. She's the one that gave me the link to this Council of Arles. And I asked her, all right, you gave me the link, so tell me, what did they discuss at this council? And she couldn't tell me. I said, wait a minute, but you just gave me the link. Is it? It's that knee-jerk apologetics on the part of non-believers that they do. They find anything to try to, criticize Christianity without really thoroughly investigating the things that they're trying to criticize. And so they just look on Google. Some of us have done it before. I know I'm guilty of it. Just find anything it immediately opposes, or things that's supporting our argument without even thoroughly investigating it first, and then just give it to our opponent. And that's what she did with me. But in case you guys are wondering who I'm talking about, you can go to my channel. You can see who I'm talking about. The one individual named African, who I had a debate with about syncretism, parallelism, Jesus, Osiris, Horus, all that other stuff. Personally, I don't think it was a very good debate. But people are telling me that I won that debate. I said absolutely not. I don't think I did. I think she just forfeited it because she did such a horrible job. And I'm sorry to have to say it that way, but if you see the debate yourself, number one, she was an hour late to the debate. Number one. Two, she was 30 minutes. It took her a long time. Once she came to the room, it took another 30 or 40 minutes for her to get prepared. And then after we got started, she was still unprepared. She was looking for a note, scattering and stuttering the whole time. Very incoherent position. I mean, it was hard to keep up with what she was trying to say. She kept pausing a lot, stopping. I mean, and then a lot of the stuff she was bringing to the table just didn't make any sense. So I think she just did a horrible job. I didn't win that debate. I just think she did a really bad job.
If you have to consider a winner or a loser for a debate, you're debating wrong.
Yeah, well, that's the way I never looked at debates as who won, who lost, because it's solely on the person, on the people listening, whether they're convinced of the other's argument. So,
yeah, I know what debate you're talking about, Becklin. It reminds me of the whole debate discussion that James White had with at the Sham Ghulam a while back. So, because I remember during that discussion, anytime he brought up or tried to make a point, he said, "Hold on a second," and he didn't have a laptop. He just had like a bunch of different papers that were stapled, and he was like trying to get them and flip through them instead of getting things prepped up on a laptop like the other people, like even Shabir Ali had did. So yeah, I know which one you're referring to.
Yeah, it was frustrating, but anyway. So,
and I see we got someone saying seems weird. I have vampires in Hangouts. That's someone that had a picture of a vampire in a Hangout. You have a ninja for a profile picture. I mean, I don't see what's so different with that. I mean, especially considering what, if I'm correct in if that's from the video game I'm thinking of, what kind of depictions and characters is in that. Anyways, what do you think about the Torah Knights? Why do I think about the Torah Knights so much? I really don't. I mean, as far as I can say, I don't even really consider Torah Knights as much of a big deal.
Yeah,
I focus more of my time on refuting Islam, claims that atheists have made, inner house issues with Christians, such as doctrine on the Trinity, textual criticism, all these kinds of things. So I really don't care about what you guys as Torah Knights or whoever believe. Y'all believe what y'all want. There's other people that are able to handle that camp much more than I can. I have where my fights are. You made a video calling out Judah and Negi, yeah, to get a clarification, not trying to start a full-on war with every single Torah Knight. I just needing questions answered, and those are the only two people I can think of that would be able to answer the questions. So after that, after I get the questions answered, it means I don't think I'd really be interested in pursuing a debate with anybody or anything.
Yeah,
in fact, after I do the chat with Judah, that's probably the last I'll ever touch on the Torah Knights ever again.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and I mean no offense to say this towards the Torah Knights, but it's been noted by several individuals, none of which are necessarily connected to each other, that the Torah Knights are not individuals that you can expect to have a serious civil discussions with. They've been, and I really hate to put it this way, but it's documented. We can see it on screen. The majority of the time, I should say, they're arguing. They're doing a lot of personal attacks, a lot of ridicule, and just a lot of unsubstantiated assertions on their part.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
right, and that's what I'm hoping to like get cleared up or whatnot, because I've seen some of the things that some of these guys have said, and I'm hoping that Judah would clear the room on that, because I got some of the stuff cleared up from Negi. Now, what only person talked to is what he didn't call him a leader, but like a head figure or something like that, and that's why I would be interested in talking with him. I'm not interested in talking to every single one, because I've already talked to all of them, that's all I need to know is just that's all really I need to talk to with them, is because when I've tried talking to some of them before, it's just the conversation got nowhere. But Judah at least seemed reasonable and was talking nicely whenever we first met. So that's the only reason why I would be asking for him if he wanted to come on board with the conversation. So he'd be probably the last guest on theological discussion. I know I promised Chris Harris a spot, but honestly, I have better things to do, and that as soon as I get this whole thing with Torah Knights over with, then that's the end of that. That's it. I just want to get it over with as fast as possible and move on. Anyways, so anyways, we got we have more questions that if y'all want to ask. We have 30 minutes left before we have to close the show out for the night. So if y'all got a question or y'all want to come in, feel free to do so. Let me check if anyone's been sending me a Hangout. Nope, nothing on there. What, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I have a question. Another question. All right, holidays here. We got.
If it's about Halloween, we already asked that question.
Right. My question is going to be mostly about the virgin birth and Christmas coming up and all.
Very early thinking.
Yeah, I know, right? Some people are already hanging up Christmas ornaments now. But do you believe that the doctrine of the virgin birth, or some would call it virgin conception, do you believe that is a primary essential or secondary essential, to the faith regarding something?
The virgin birth?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a primary essential.
Now, why do you believe that? I'm just curious, because I'm not quite sure. I think it's very important. And it's
for the one, I think the Bible is quite clear about that, as well as, especially in regards to the messianic prophecy that is recorded within the Old Testament. So I think that it is very important to what we should see, because it's very clear that if it's something you deny, I mean, it's very clear, very laid out there. Just like Jesus's existence is or rather, a person believes Jesus existed or not, and they claim to be a Christian, is important in, with the faith, as if it's an essential. Obviously, it is. Whether or not if God exists is an essential, whether or not the Trinity is God is triune is an essential. The idea of hell, rather hell or universalism, and having to choose and that it's talking about hell, that's an essential. So that it's on that same kind of level, because it's on that same kind of clarity and that clear thing that we're seeing. That it just can't that to obviously yeah, you guys keep thinking that. Got Lamad saying we live inside your head rent free. Yeah, whatever. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, I think it's just
okay.
It's an essential because it's so clear and laid out. It's not one of those things that isn't. It's not. It's explicit. It's not one of those non-explicit things where you have the issue of, rather, it's condemnable to perform infant baptism in the way that the Presbyterians and the Methodists do. Now, the way that Catholics have used it for baptism for remission of sins, as in forgiveness of sins and all that kind of stuff, that is certainly a condemnable practice.
I got you.
Yeah. So, thank you for your question, man. All right, so going on to Spartan, since he's back. How are you doing? Check, check. Are you alive? Are you breathing? Are you kicking?
Spartan.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I don't have any questions right now, so you can go ahead and do the next person.
All right, then that goes to Remy.
No, I thought I got everything talked out, man.
Well,
I would say, though, that debates are usually a two-sided lecture is one way to look at it. Because it's meant to educate the audience, those who are listening. So if you have two people giving a point of view on a specific subject, then the crowd has to analyze it with objective, as much objective.
I was just going to say, to the best of their ability, right?
Yeah, but the best of their ability could be subjective, because their ability could say, well, no, he's wrong because I believe so. But yeah, you're right. You're essentially right, though. But it has to, but it should be objective if you're an intellectual. So, saying that, well, opponent A is wrong but opponent B shouldn't be such a straw man and going forward. But that's why a good, honest debate should end with both or one or both parties saying, this is our view, this is our opinion, and this is what our research has led us to believe. You be the judge, and those are the ones I respect.
I like that. Two-sided lecture. That's the best description ever.
Mm-hmm. Now, if it's politics, they're all stupid and liars.
No, sir, you're wrong. You're wrong. Shut up.
Wrong.
Wrong.
You got I'm always right. You're always wrong. You got to remember that.
Wrong.
Better remember that.
Wrong.
I'm going to undo everything that Obama did. He's wrong.
Well, you know what Ken Hovind said about politics? He says poly means many, ticks is a blood-sucking insect. So I thought that was pretty clever.
Well, that's ultimately what it boils down to at the point. So we got some Discord questions coming in. So let's see what we got. Kat asks, what does anarchism mean to you? Well, what does anarchism mean to me? It means to me the same thing as it means to me the little brown nuggets I leave in the toilet.
Oh,
must I go on? No, I don't think I should, because then some people will be throwing up. But yeah, that's my opinion of it.
You mean
that's what it means?
That it means Jack. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, be careful now. Watch it with that stuff now.
It's gonna break into that song Shaft. They say Shaft is one bad mother. Shut your mouth. I'm talking about Shaft.
And Veckel is on his whole spiel right about now.
I'm sorry.
No, I find it interesting. You're doing pretty good and all that stuff, man.
Got the baby with me. She's sleeping.
How is she, by the way?
She's doing great. I'm gonna.
Oh, good. It's been a while since I've heard from you.
Yeah, I just been I'm working during the day now, so when I get home at 6:30, I'm like starting to doze off at like 8 o'clock. But today, for some reason, I'm just wide awake. I don't know why. I'm usually sleeping by now, but
if you want to get woken up, man, try some G Fuel. That stuff works perfectly.
Does it?
Oh yeah.
I still want to try that.
No, actually, I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube regarding what Antifa and some of the leftists are doing. That gets my blood boiling. So
yeah, I just call them pho.
Yeah, right.
Urban terrorists. That's what they look like.
Urban terrorists. I like that.
Pretty much.
It's funny, and it's becoming even more true the later days, though, that Antifa is becoming exactly what they're calling everybody else out to be, is Hitler and Nazis. Because what did the Nazis do? They destroyed property. They beat people up if they didn't agree with Hitler. They recruited, but or they forced you to agree with what their point of view was about politics. And if they're almost, if they keep on going this way, then they'll start breaking your doors down and dragging you into the streets and saying, pledge allegiance to Soros, or we will smash your face in. That the Nazis did that, or they would drag you off to some camp. They even did that to their own people, because the people wouldn't agree with what Hitler's campaign would be. So these Antifa kids don't seem to be too far off. I find it rather ironic.
That's the nature of intrinsic evil. It's self-contradictory. It's self-refuting. It's always contradicting itself, man. It's.
I don't think it's evil. I just think it's wrong.
Well,
but then again, I don't believe evil exists.
Oh, there's the difference right there.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Spartan didn't have a question.
Well, instead of evil, you could call it malice, and malice has no religious or spiritual overtones. Malice is just the desired or amusement of causing harm or displeasure to another person. So
I can agree to that.
So there you go.
Well, see, I got another question for you. What's your thoughts on demonic possession? Do you believe that it actually happens?
I think it does, but rarely.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people like to make it think like it's this common phenomenon that even Christians get demonically possessed. I am not in that position. I think that what happens is that it will occasionally start in different places, different people, and it takes time before it actually develops into from oppression to possession. And it only happens in non-believers for the most part, because they're the ones that are able to be vulnerable. Christians, on the other hand, have the Spirit of God, and as the Bible says, light and darkness cannot dwell together. So if you are a Christian, you cannot be demonly possessed. So if someone claims that they've been possessed as a Christian or that they've been oppressed, then either these people were not actually Christians, for otherwise they would have had the Spirit to fend them off, or they were just very confused people to begin with. So that's what I would have to say on that. So I think in regards to demonic possession, it happens, but I think it's very rare. And I think that we tend to over exaggerate whenever it does happen, and know that in regards to what we need to do, prayer is one thing, and the Word of God is also another thing that we need to learn. I think most of the times it seems to just be more oppression that goes on compared to possession.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that. It's funny you mention this because now it just occurred to me just now what I saw earlier today. For the first time in my neck of the woods where I'm at now, saw some guy walking down the street just screaming at the top of his lungs at nothing. He's walking down the street, and I couldn't make out what he was saying. All I heard was, and even when he was like a quarter of a mile away, you can still hear him. Like,
Was that demonic possession or drug abuse?
Maybe in a natural realm, in a natural sense, it was probably drug abuse or mental illness, but I don't know.
Yeah, you've got bath salts now that I don't know how they ingest them, but apparently there's a certain type of bath salt that'll turn you into a rather frightening, zombified person. That your eyes will go shut, your skin will go pale, and you won't be able. You can't think. You just
living dead.
Yeah. So, but people are like, I've seen several videos where people are saying it's possession, it's a demon. I'm like, it's bath salts.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really screwing your brain.
Well, I mean, I wanted. I don't know if I should bring this up or not. It may be a little bit uncouth to talk about this. Maybe we could talk about it off air, I guess. But there was another video I saw of, well, I don't know. I guess it could be a mental issue or not. I don't know. But there was a video of never mind. I'll talk about it later.
All right.
Just say it this way: it was done in public.
I can already tell what you're talking about at this point. Then, all right. By the way, 15 minutes before we go to Discord for the off-air show. So if y'all want to go ahead and click on the link in the description to join Discord, feel free to do so, because we'll going to be wrapping things up and be preparing to go there in a few. All right. So if, again, y'all have any more questions, put them in the live chat and we'll get to them, because I see we have 9 people watching at the moment. Watch after asking that question. Okay, so apparently for some reason he wants you to answer in on this one too, Veckel. Is studying flat Earth a waste of time?
Yes.
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 Absolutely.
3 out of 3. Yes. And Penn wasn't even invited
I would say
to
it
do the
depends.
judging.
I think.
I would say it depends because
yeah.
if you feel led by the Lord to, like Faithful and G-Man and a few others are doing, and G-Con are doing that, leading people out of this cult, then if flat earthism, if it's even an ism yet, if it's a cult, and clearly the many churches these days are one by one splitting because the earth is flat, then it's maybe not a cult as in they're all culminating somewhere, all gathering saying this is now the church of, maybe they're not that far yet, but if the Lord is calling you to study up on it, then it's important for you, but it's not a issue. Exactly. It's not a serious issue as of yet because
not essential, right?
Yeah, because it's not causing people to attack faith. If they're not causing people to, it's not causing people to completely disregard a demographic, as it were, of other Christians for whatever their belief is or their skin, or it's not doing that yet. Although they are calling into question your faith, your belief, but
yeah, that's why I step in and vehemently oppose these flat earthers when they try to put this pressure on Christians who disagree with them and say that it's an essential. I have to vehemently stand up and oppose that. Paul says in 2 Corinthians that I think it's in 1 Corinthians, maybe not. All things are lawful, but not all things are expedient. Then he says it again later on, but I think it's okay for Christians to study up on these things. I don't see any problem with that. The problem I have is when you say, if you don't believe in a flat earth, then you're not saved. You don't have the right to say such a thing because the text in no way, shape, or form makes it an essential for you to believe in a particular shape of the earth.
Yeah, and that raises a good point to what I'd already said, but I didn't say it right. You raise a good point, though, is that the Hebrew Israelites of any skin color are saying that you can't be saved and you can't believe and you can't, whereas flat earthers are not saying you can't. They're just simply saying, as of now, you are not. So it hasn't gone as extreme as these other cults yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So, yeah. Okay. So Stephen Presley asked another question. Is the Illuminati real? They were real.
They were. Yeah.
Huh?
They were. Yeah.
Yeah. They were pretty much like exterminated. As far as what I remember, because they were trying to provide they were trying to bring up a thing that was like this. It's basically at its originality, like this almost like skepticism kind of like a thing. They were trying to promote reason and investigation and all these other different kinds of things. And I forgot what all the full details, but you can look this stuff up because I do know that on a list about the true facts about the Illuminati or something like that, they mentioned that's like the #1 fact about it, is that it did actually exist, but then they did kind of get extinct. So the idea of some kind of revival just seems too ridiculous. But we can see that something of an Illuminati that they actually refer to themselves as try to start up, didn't work out.
Yeah, they were only around for like 5 years maybe, and then they disbanded because they were found out or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's like I said, it's vague to me right at the moment.
Still exist, but go under a different alias or something, or a different name.
Nah.
No?
I don't think so. I mean, from what I remember, they were a real group that promoted science, reasoning, logic, investigation, stuff like that, critical thinking, skepticism, and all that stuff. And they were.
Sounds like
I'm trying to remember if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong. They were against the church. I don't think they were a group of atheists, but I do think they were against the idea of the church, and the church didn't like them very much. And when they were found out, they had to disband.
We're found out.
They were found out. All right, for some of y'all that are watching, I just left the link to join Discord. Y'all don't have a Discord, get it set up because in about 10 minutes we're gonna be crashing on over to there. At least I hope Veckel will. If he decides to go away, I will never forgive him for that.
Oh. Well, you know, there is one way. Without the shedding of blood, there is no remission.
There you go. There you go. You good.
But somebody did that for us already, so.
Exactly. Somebody already did. All right, then. Oh, yeah, and Galactic made a comment on the flat earth thing. That whosoever believeth in the flat earth shall be saved. What you talking about?
Yeah, can I just clarify one thing too? When I say that it's a waste of time, I guess what I meant to say is in discussions about soteriology, it is. They're a complete waste of time. I don't think, again, I think we all agree, no problem talking about these kinds of things. I don't see a problem talking about evolution or Calvinism versus Arminianism, you know, skin color of the Israelites, all these kinds of things, because they're all Bible related in some way, shape, or form. And they're interesting discussions, makes Christians think and reconsider their positions. However, none of these things that I mentioned are essential to the faith. I would even argue, you know, Calvinism. Even though I strongly believe that that's the biblical view, I don't think that's a requirement for anybody in order to be saved, to be right standing with God. I know me personally, I can't stand it when I hear Christians say things like, God is trying to do this and that to you. He wants to save you, but you got to let him. I hate that language so much. But you know what? I do believe that Christians that use that language, I believe that they're sincere when they say it. I just think I just believe that they're wrong, but I believe that they're sincere. And I wouldn't dare say that they're not Christian or they're not saved just because they have that view. So,
yeah.
So it's the same thing with the skin color of the Israelites, skin color of Jesus, the shape of the earth, all these other things. You know, I think none of these things really matter. But I wouldn't discourage anyone from looking into it either. You know.
Mm-hmm. We got a question from Galactic Genesis saying, how do we know that Jesus died for our sins now instead of for the sins previously on earth? Like there is no sacrifice after we were saved. So, good question, actually. And I was actually going to pull up some verses here on my software to go into that. Veckel, do you want to handle this one for while I do that?
Yeah, I did hear the question again. How do we know that Jesus died for our sins now instead of for the sins previously on earth? Like there's no sacrifice after we were saved. Well, I would say because the work that God had ordained since the foundation of the world, Revelation 13:8, is eternal in nature, which means that it not only covers, forgives your sins past, but also in the future. It puts you in a position where your nature has changed, your status has changed in the eyes of God. So even if you do sin after you are redeemed, you are still justified in God's sight because you are no longer a child of the world, but you're a child of God now. I think so it's not about looking at, you losing your salvation. I think once a person is saved, it's about their status with God and their new nature. I mean, that would be my best explanation. 2 Corinthians 5:17. You know, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. All things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. I don't see any text that would indicate that that can be undone. I mean, once you're in Christ, Doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect, because we still mess up.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is we have a conviction now. When we sin, we know what we're doing, and we know who we're doing it against.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're truly believers, if we're truly redeemed, we're going to have conviction and conflict within ourselves because we sinned.
Yeah. All right. So here's what I want to go into real quick. So 2 verses I want to go into. All right. So first of all, in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 24, we have in reference about Jesus, who his own self bare our sins in his own body on the tree, referring to the cross, that we, being dead to sins, should live unto righteousness, by whose stripes ye were healed. He bared our sins in his own body on the cross. So it says our sins, not our past sins, and we have to imply that it's in reference to all sins for another good reason, and that is 1 John chapter 3, verse 20. And it says the following. 1 John chapter 3 and verse 20. For if our heart condemns us, God is greater than our heart, and look at this phrase, knoweth all things. God knows all things. He's not bound and limited by time. He knows what happens in the future. He knows of the future sins, and knows that that's another reason why he sent his son, to not just die for the past sins, but to die as an atonement for your sins in general. So he paid the atonement also, and so that you may be declared righteous, and that you may be in right standing with God. So that also, because also you see that whenever we sin, we also see the part where it says that if we sin and if we pray or ask for forgiveness from the Father, he is just and righteous to forgive us. And so that's the other thing, is that there's still this, we have this attitude in which we want to ask for forgiveness of our sins, but we know that as far as the atonement goes for, whether the sins have been atoned, they have been atoned on the cross and have been shed for that. So that's what I would have to say about that. All right, and we have at least time for one more question, even though it would probably go a little bit past the time we have on the show. So if anyone in here's got a question before someone in the live chat or Discord starts grabbing at it, feel free to go ahead and ask. Well, I would have expected that would have probably happened.
Can't think of it.
Wish I had, if it wasn't copywritten, I would have played the Jeopardy music by now.
You get in trouble if somebody whispers it, hums it?
Nope.
Okay.
No, because it's just a terrible cover at that point. But
well, what if you get like 5 people do acapella?
Yeah, no.
Well, like an acapella group. Here is the Waiting Company with their new song.
Sounds like Jeopardy, but not quite Jeopardy. That's their new song.
Yep, it sounds like Jeopardy, but not quite.
You just got to change a few notes, maybe 1 or 2 notes, and that's it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we're not going to get a question at the moment. So I see Dan the Man has left. Let me check the invites. Well, seen at least one of the Hebrew Israelite guys, the Torah Knights, wanted to join, but didn't get a request or an invite thing. So I don't know. Anyways, so that I guess that will just make that the end of the show. So if anyone wants to start getting ready to head to Discord, we're gonna head over there now. But yeah, thank y'all for tuning in. Yeah, especially some of y'all who are watching, the 11 that's watching this right now. If y'all want to join us, we're gonna go over to Discord. and we'll be chillaxing over there. In the voice chat that says general. So if y'all want to join us up there, let me see here. Veckel, you gonna be heading there? Or are you gonna be?
Yeah, I get over there.
All right then.
Right now, while
I'll head over there. Send me a link.
All right, let me just.
I've never used Discord voice chat before, so we'll see how it goes.
I'm still fairly new to it myself.
Yeah, it's still interesting to try to get around. I'm trying to make sure to operate it perfectly myself. Sent it in the inner chat here, pin.
Okay.
All right. So, all right, we're gonna be heading on over there now. So, thank you for the good show. Hopefully, we'll do this next Friday, where it takes us. Anyways, this has been the Christian Anarchist. Shalom Aleichem. Peace be upon you, because I wish that upon you. Have a good day.